Hi, this is Jennifer at Workamajig, and I'll be bringing to you this webinar on communications. This webinar, thank you all for coming, is not for, um, sorry, let me start again. This webinar is not for how to. This is more me showing you the different ways that you guys can communicate through projects. And you may discover new ways you can. And then for further training, like if you need to, when we go over some of this stuff, then you'll go back to support@workamajig.com and ask your support representative if they can go ahead and maybe schedule some time to go over the details of how to do some of these things. So today I'm going over just the different ways that we communicate inside of Workamajig and show you all the different features that we have that many people maybe aren't utilizing it because they didn't know that they could do it. That's always something new. So after each section, as you can see, I have like 11 things that I'll go over. If you want to write in the chat any questions you might have, if I can answer them, I will answer them. If I can't, I'll defer you to your support specialist. So I'm also supposed to give my little spiel that yes, I work at Workamajig and we do webinars almost weekly. We have boot camps and we do project management and accounting software for ad agencies like yourself. So welcome everyone, and I'm going to get started. I will be going back and forth between two different users because I did want to be able to display some, how things come into your email versus how they display inside of Workamajig. So let's see, which one am I going to start with? I have to flip over, so bear with me when I decide which is the appropriate one to start with. This one, yay, okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about is setting up an incoming email. So as you guys may already know, you can have messages in Workamajig and they will come in to your bell. And simply, that's fine for a lot of people if they're absolutely in Workamajig all the time and they don't mind coming down here and seeing all of their messages. And sometimes they get really high and then you can clear them all out. So messages down here are the same as emails coming into you. So if you have numbers here, you should check out your messages, and it doesn't hurt if ever you clear this, because guess what? Oh, look, the number goes down, but don't worry, they're still there. So just the first thing to note is I can always go through here and I can go, this week or whatever, and those messages will come back if I need to see them, right? So that's the very first. Oh, question already. Hold on. Oh, I have a raised hand, but I don't have a message. Let's see. I think I need you to put, because I can't hear you. If you have a question, go ahead and put it in the Q&A area. You should be able to see that, and then I can answer that for you. So again, and I'll pop into that in a moment. So first off, we're going to talk about, that's great for most people, but what if some people prefer to be an emo when they get their messages back and forth for communications. So the way that works in Workamajig is you do have to set this up. You do need to be an admin, but I do want to show you the behind the scenes for those of you who are not admin and may want to talk to your admin. If this is not yet happening in your office and you would like to have this work, then you're going to have somebody go to your system setup and go down to our connections area. So our connections is where emails do come from if you are going to be working within Workamajig. And you need to, it will work between everyone internally, but when I talk about connections, this is more for if I need to talk to my client, I need to send emails out of Workamajig and I need the client to reply and it go back into Workamajig into the project area so that I can have that posted as a reply. Now, many people don't need to talk to their clients through Workamajig, or they don't care. That's okay. This does not need to be set up. If you are an internal marketing agency and you all work inside, then you may not need this area set up. But if you do, you would need, and we do have instructions on this, to set up this information under the email connections area. So after you do it, you would, it's usually an IT professional needs to set up a unique email that no one's ever used before. And it can be POP or the other one, IMAP or Office. So you have different options in here depending on what your needs are to set this up. And then once that's set up, you would test it and you would get a green saying you're good to go, right? Now, most of the time, I'll go right down to this because it's in the same area. Most 95% of our clients do not need SMTP. What is that? It's a way when you set up your email and it doesn't, for some reason, go to get back to you guys, or there's a problem because there's high spam filters in there or spoofing filters. You would only need to have this set up if you're having a problem with your emails because you have strict email spoofing. So if you do, and it's going to be filtering us out and you need to instead show it coming from your server, then you would have this section set up. I am not an IT professional, but I can tell you right here in our help guide, if you guys need to set up SMTP, there's a whole section on how to set this up. So make the support guide your friend if it is not already. There's now that new question mark right here that I believe will take it to you. They just added this last month, and it takes you right to that help guide. So just note this is something new feature. I always thought it was questioning me, but now I know that that's in there. All right, so that is in the back end and under email. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about is, making sure that you guys know if your emails aren't working and you need to get this set up, you can definitely talk to your account person and they can help you get this going. And everybody should be able to do email. So that was my first goal. And I'm going to close this for a second. 1, 2. Okay, we're going to talk about these emails via the bell and email and some transaction preferences, because what I have found is clients or you guys don't want to have both for most things. Like you have some back end, and let me go back into this now. No, I guess I can be this person because I accidentally opened the wrong browser. You have some back end ways that you can set up for transaction preferences that affect the way that you guys can work. So communicating can be A, in the bell, or B, in your email. So in your transaction preferences is in the system setup. So if you have access to this area, we have some ways that we can communicate, and it's considered your notification options. So in your notification options, this is the section I'm referring to, really. It's basically, how do I want to get my emails? And we have system message, email, or both. I do both only because I'm working here, but in real life, most of you would only want one, because then it's like way too much, like, why am I getting this in my email? And then this number keeps going and I have to clear it. That's more work for you guys. Probably I pick one. Now, if you think that you're having a problem with your email right now or something like that, then you may want to have both on until you get that figured out. But you simply can change system message only for conversations. You're not going to get them in your email. I think most people nowadays want it in their email, and maybe you guys do want both, but this is what that pertains to. Now, once you set this up, you should be testing it, with some internal employees to make sure this works. And I'll be going over that shortly. So again, there's different kinds of system messages at the bottom when you set this up. What do you want to see for messages and notifications? Notifications are the bell here. And those are some back end, so you can decide how you can have that set up. So again, transaction preferences and different types of notification options are in here. The daily emails are basically notifications also. And since I'm already over here, the one step up, if you don't already have this filled out and you need people to start knowing, did they submit their timesheets? Are they overworked? Do I have deliverables up for review? There's task reminders. So there's a lot of ways that we can communicate things automatically, and they may get annoying. So, if you get too many reminders, like sending task reminders on the weekend, and then you keep getting these all day long, just note that this is where these are set up. As they do not go out until the first time that you put a date in here and the time that you want those set. So there's quite a few different options on here. What else do I want to say? This is important if you haven't already noticed this. If you need to include the sender when emailing a to-do, conversation, or diary post, this just copies you. Most people don't want a copy of it, but if you did want it to automatically show your email address when you're doing a to-do, a conversation, or a diary post, if you have this, check that your name would automatically be copied on that. All right. So that is your deliverable. Oh, that's your transaction preferences. So again, email or bell, transaction preference. Those are important things to know for communication, which your whole office. Just note, transaction preference means your whole office. This is not just for you. So you all have to be in agreement. How do you want your notifications? Because it's, all one way or another. And I do apologize for any background noise, as unfortunately today is the day that they do the yard. All right, deliverable defaults. We're going to talk a few minutes about that, but does anybody have any questions so far? I don't see any Q&A in the chat. It's a good amount of participants. I got 46 in here. All right. All right, so we're going down to deliverable defaults. So again, this is where goal is to show communication today as far as how is the setup can be effective to communicate for deliverable defaults. So those defaults are also in the back end in the same area that we are in. So we want to make it, as easy as possible for communication. So when we set up how our deliverable goes out, we have a couple of options to send reminders to people. That means an email option to be sent out to people, or the tagged in here to go out to them if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, meaning reviewing what you sent them. So you can do that for internal, or you can do it for your clients. So usually I see it's the client that's usually dragging on the reviews, not usually the internal. So you may want to send the reminders starting in how many days, and then every day. And if you really want to hound on them, you can do an hourly review, hourly message to them. Please, 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 please review this. So you can set up this for all of your clients, or you can set this up on the fly when you do a deliverable. So that's kind of one of the things I'll be going through today with you is, communications during the deliverable process itself for those of you that are using it. Also, as we're in transaction preferences, just note you do have some options for communicating, whether or not you want to send everyone. This has always been a confusing thing, so I just want to take a second to explain it since we're sitting here. Anyways, sending everyone at once and not having this checked, whoever gets to it first, if you have multiple people on an internal review that need to review something, only the first person that denies it, it ends that round for everybody else. If you have this checked on here, then it continues if you have it to multiple people so that everybody gets a chance to say thumbs up or thumbs down on the review. So I do see most people doing this, and most people only have one person on their internal review as far as my clients are. So that's absolutely fine. But I do just want to mention that, if you do want everyone to have their idea of thumbs up or thumbs down, but ultimately, if one person says thumbs down, it's going to need another round. So just make sure that you remember that's how that works, because this is always has a possibility of getting confusing to some of my clients regarding how to set this up. Let me make sure there was nothing else about this that I needed to note for you. Oh, there was. You do have a backend option, one, to send the notifications to users when the deliverable is sent for review, meaning it's going out. Do I need to send? There's that little notify section. If you need to send the additional email out, as soon as you send it out to let people be notified that you sent it out, this is what that does. And then if you do end up changing the task on a deliverable, meaning I'm going to go over the, fix this on the to-dos with you. I'm sorry, on the deliverable with you, if you need another email. So it's just we can get really crazy with a lot of emails, and it may be helpful for some and not helpful for others, but these are places that we can set up for people to get, send individual approved emails to each person, some more emails to you guys. All right, so right now I'm going to step out of that and go back to this page. So this was the deliverable defaults. There are also in employee settings some to make your life easier for communication, not just deliverables and to-dos, but we're going to go again back over to this. So in your admin manager, if you have employees, yes, I do want to save that change. I forgot I did that. All right, in your own over in your employee section, let's just take Q for a second. There are notification sections in here. And there is also projects and time, is it this one? Some defaults for subscriptions. So again, we're talking about communications today, and there may be some people in the office that want more visibility, more communication, more in the know than other people. So this allows you to do it person by person so that they automatically populate, say for all project conversations that they're on the projects of, or to-do conversations that they're on. So their name will automatically appear when you create a to-do and there's that notify section, their name will automatically appear there because they want to be in the know, which is absolutely fine. So just note this subscription is under projects and time, and you can decide subscribe to. And I believe during the email process, you can take yourself off that. So sometimes people think that this is all great, and then they start getting all these conversations, and suddenly there's a button inside the conversation that says unsubscribe to this conversation. You can always stop getting the emails if you want, but once you start this, it's going to be on all projects, conversations that you are on the project of, not in the entire world, just on the ones that you're on. And while I'm down here, you could be also a default reviewer of deliverables. That means you would be on every deliverable that you're on the project as a review or automatically pop up. So just note those here. And then again, we're talking about communication. So I just want to let you guys know, if you have never seen this section before, which some of you may have and some of you haven't, the notification section personalizes for Foxy Lady to decide what things do they really need to get messages on. And sometimes you may start thinking, wow, these are all really great. And then 5 minutes later, after you've had 75 emails on these things, you realize that might have been too much. So you need to note that, like, if I come through here and I want to get task reminders, and I'm going to show this from my side also, there's going to be, you know, do I only want ones that I'm on? Do I want all the tasks? Do you want ones you're a project manager? You know, you have some decision, and then how, you know, how many days before? I mean, if I start something 14 days before it's due on a task, I'm going to get an email every single day until I do it. So just be cautious that, just note most of these all expand. As soon as you hit send notification, it's going to give you additional options. And if you don't like it and somebody had to set this up for you, you know, as soon as you set this up, this will start effective immediately. If you find that you get too many system messages or in your email, or both, depending on your setup, you can come back in here and obviously adjust these, but there's a lot of different reminders that we have that you can communicate on here. So I know this is more about communication and these are more like reminders, but I did, since I was in there, think that I should go over that with you guys. So those are employee settings for to-dos, deliverables. Do you want to be on the defaults on there? Now we're going to talk for a few minutes about conversations. And conversations in Workamajig really means emailing inside of Workamajig and having that information stay with the project long-term, forever, pretty much, or the opportunity, or either of those places. So if you haven't already used conversations, I'm going to give you a little spiel on this. Wait, that's this one. Sorry, let me make sure. Basically, I have some projects set up in which I can talk to people. Again, this is not a how-to, but I have already set up some talking to, I think on this one. I need to see which one I did it on. Nope, maybe this one. Yeah, conversations. All right, so conversations can be set on right up from your projects, and hopefully you guys already know that by now. And then you can see when there's a new one that came in, and you can set it up conversations or emails on the project level. You can also do this on the deliverable level, meaning it's not going to say here, and I'm going to show you that in a few minutes, how you can actually tag your deliverables and have conversations only inside the deliverable, but not open to everybody in the, you know, on the project just sitting here. So there's some conversations that have taken place, and I may not always be in Workamajig and see this. I'm one unread email, which I could open and see. But, you know, if I open this, I can see the unread email, and I can reply right out of Workamajig if I want to, back to the other person. I have this on the default, so it's me equals me, which I would take off and put in the actual person, which is, you know, Foxy Lady. So, you know, I can reply back. Well, actually, Foxy sent it, and I would send that back to him. but I'm not going to do that right now. What I'm going to show you is that this same conversation will flow into, these are all of my emails that came from Workamajig. Now, if I can find the one that I was talking about on this one, which I probably can't. That's a to-do, sorry. Well, this is a good place to show you anyways. So as you go through Workamajig, if you were to get to-dos, these are your, I can view my to-do from my email and it will take me to click it into the to-do and it's assigned. I can see my rounds for deliverables inside of Workamajig. I can open this up from here. It should open up into the deliverable that I was working on. And then I can, click in here and make my comments and to-dos, which we're going to go over briefly in the future. So, these are just different kinds of messages that will come up. Oh, here's a comment on the to-do. This one is a posted comment on to-do. Where is this one? I'm still trying to find the one that I actually worked on. Well, now I can't, but that's okay. I do will tell you, remember I said you can get those daily emails of your reminders of all the projects that you need to do, and it will actually tell you how, sorry, that's not supposed to happen. I'm overdue. How long am I overdue? And I can click there to, this is my review reminder that I haven't done that yet. So just note, these are just the ways that these can come in from either other employees or from the system generated messages. So again, they're just, let's look at one more. So this will tell me, here's my reminder for my round. I needed to make a decision. So everything is clickable inside of Workamajig, brings you to the page that you should be in. Why did I just show up as Hugh Jackman instead of the person I was, is because I don't have, and this may have happened to you guys in the past. If you've ever accidentally gotten into somebody else's Workamajig, it's because in the back end, you may have not had the everyone must, I need to get out of him. Everyone must sign in. So that sometimes will happen if you are sent an email and you open it up and it's not you and you're like, how did that happen? That is something that can happen and can be changed. Does the email, Mary is asking, does the email that is set up for each username, are we switching from Google to Microsoft? So we're wondering if we need to update all emails since our email addresses are changing. Absolutely. And I will show you where after I sign back in as whoever I was. Wait, hold on. I was, I'm going to sign back in and show you that, yes, everybody will have to be updated. So that was a good question. So if ever, and this has happened to a lot of my clients, that they do switch over to Office. Every employee, their username can, if your username is your email address and your email is changing, all of your user IDs need to be updated. In addition, then the employee details, there's a place for your email. That should match the email that you guys are currently having. So, I mean, you can't obviously update this all at once unless you do it through an import. I think you could import employee records, like if you had 200 employees and you needed to do this for everybody at once. I think that you can, and now you're going to make me check because I haven't had to import employee records in a long, long time. So their first last name is key filled if it already exists. So yes, you can import and then you would be able to update their. I want to refrain from saying absolutely yes on this because I don't want it to create a new record for everyone if you update, but I'm pretty sure it's going to look, the problem is if you have the user ID and the user ID is their email and it's looking for that and you need to change it, that's maybe not going to be importable. So I'll need to get back to you and check on that to make sure that's even possible to do it as an import. Otherwise, you would have to be doing it individually for each person. All right, so the reply from Outlook back, that was one question. Julie, hi. A reply from Outlook back to Workamajig, we seem to lose people on the group when the email replied from Outlook. Is there a best practice? You should not be losing people as you reply back. I mean, when you reply back, it should take all of the people that was replied to, I mean, that were in the original conversation, unless they got the email and they took themselves off. everybody should be on there. So you know how I said you can automatically unsubscribe from a conversation? If some people unsubscribe, their little name wouldn't show up anymore. And it's possible that people are doing that, Julie, that they're just like, I don't want this, and they unsubscribe. And then when you go to send something, then their names have already dropped off and you have to re-add them back in. But if that isn't happening, then that's something that we need to take a closer look at after this call, because we don't have like a reply all. The names should automatically be on there based on the original email. When it's a group email, they should all be on there for the replies so everybody can see them, with the exception of the client. Depending on your setup, you may be hiding that from the client. Okay, another question. Can you show us how to set it up so you need to sign in when? Yes, so you don't show to you. That's where I was getting to. Thank you, Colleen. Next question. Yeah, I got off track a little bit. Sorry, guys. All right, so yes, it's super important, I think, to have this checked. And I thought I did have it checked, but evidently, or maybe this is the thing, when I'm in as several different people, sometimes it's pulling the wrong person because I'm in the same browser as somebody else. So this is where it's set up. It's the deliverable and it's login required. No, I didn't see. So if you have this, really important in the transaction preference, if you do not have this checked and you send an email to someone, they could definitely open the email and be in as you, and you never want that to happen because that's confusing. Now, if you have login required and your client doesn't have a login, that's okay. A screen will show up that says guest login, and all they have to do is type their name. And the reason that is because then when they make a comment on your deliverable, then the comment will show up under their name. So even if you have this checked for your clients to do it, don't worry, they don't have to have a username and password. I mean, of course you could do that and they could sign in and all that jazz, but they have a guest. As long as this is on, they have guest. So that was a good question. So I think that this login required is super important because that has duped me many times. Thanks. Okay. All right, Kristen, we had the same email reply drop-off issue. It was because the email was not set up properly on our end. If you do not have it set up to reply to the unique email address, it will default to the sender. That will just go to the person's inbox and not through the Workamajig system. Okay, yes, that is, I did not know. That's a good, Kristen, that was a really good answer. Thank you. So that what they're just saying is, if you have it set to reply to the unique email address, it will default to the sender only. So we don't want that to happen. Then you're just not going to have it. It needs to be fixed in the setup. And again, we could probably help you set that up if it's not working properly. Go ahead and send that into us yesterday to support and or today to support, and we'll go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, I think that's all the answers I can dismiss. Hold on, while I have a lot of other stuff. Just one moment, just getting caught up on these questions. All right, back to the regularly scheduled show. Where is I at? All right. So you guys know how to do a conversation, and yes, you can reply to all if you need to, and that's just depending on how that backend setup was. Now, to-dos have their own life of being able to talk back and forth, and I don't know if many people don't even know about to-dos yet, or they haven't investigated using them, or why they would be using them. But a to-do is another means of communications where I am really calling out one person to do something. A person can see the to-dos from their task card. And if you are working either one of two ways, I can see my to-do on here. I can see what somebody wanted me to do on here, and I can actually open this up and I can have a conversation comment back to the person who set this up, you know, if I need to. So going back and forth on the to-do is one thing, or just marking it completed is your other option on that. So to-dos can be seen task level. Okay, and then again, this is a means of communicating on this task itself. I can also start conversations from the same area. So I clicked on this. Most of you guys don't know this. It's from the middle of the card. And I can see all conversations on the project, or I can start a new, I don't have any on this, or I can start a new conversation. I have 2 people on this one, so that's why Kevin was on here. And then I had that reply to myself, which is annoying, but I would usually take myself off and send this out to, and if I need it visible, if I add my client on there, this box will be checked by default as soon as I add a client into this section. Now, people have asked about this when we're communicating back and forth. I can either start typing someone's name, and you can find it that way, because this is the way that Gmail works. I can just start typing, or I can go to the to, and it's going to sometimes default to one way or another. It's usually supposed to be the last one way that I had opened it up. And notice as soon as I add a client, the visible to client shows up to kind of give you the, hey, wake up, you asked to put a client on here. Make sure you know what you're doing before you start sending off emails. So that. All right. And save in Workamajig, if you didn't already know this, is the same as send. So, all right, so I can, again, reply to these posts, other people can see it, and this is on this project on that I just did, and those will go into one of the 2 ways that we had shown you earlier. All right, so the to-do board is another way that you guys can communicate back and forth instead of doing it. Some of my clients get away from the task cards. They find that they're cumbersome for some reason, or they have too many, and they like the to-do board better. So if I go to the to-do board, this is the way I can also communicate back and forth. It's the same exact thing as what I just showed you guys, only it's looking at it in a different view. So I was on this one, and I can actually just click on the subject, and again it brings us up to this where I can communicate, did I do this, what I did to it, and I can mark it completed if I want to. So the to-do board is a good place where you can make communication back and forth to each other. And on site, many people don't know this, but there's an area, because we're talking about communication, that I can actually, it's called description on here, but you could call, I think I made another one, I think I called it maybe it wasn't on that one. No, maybe I didn't do it that one. No, well, you can change the names if you do a column set. But anyways, you can have this column on called description, and guess what? You can write right in it. So if you have to-dos and you want to update someone and then you need a report on it later, whatever you write in here is going to be the most recent. I mean, I could add on here more information, or I can blank out and write on top of it. I believe you can make a column set and call this something else other than description, and you can move it over. But if there's some kind of communication that needs to go on between you and the person that's doing the to-do, maybe a project manager, they need to make notes regarding what's going on this to-do that was assigned to them, then this is a good place to be able to present that information. I have another question, so let me check on that. Can you add time from the to-do board? Not like a deliverable board. I don't think that is a option yet. Let's see. Oh yeah, not from the board itself. It takes you back to the edit to do. So from this board, there isn't like a time feature, but just note when you do a time entry, people ask this all the time. When you do a time entry from here, you're really actually just putting it to your task. But they simply, you took time on this to do, right? Obviously. So you kind of think of it as the task itself, but you can't have a task without a to-do. So when you actually enter time to it, it is actually going to the task, not the to-do. And you have to click on the blue highlight in order to get to this page. So if you don't have this time entry there, that's something that we can add to your page, because I'm sure it's some kind of back end button that we have. Does everyone have access to the to-do board? Everyone but you, Kathy. Just kidding. No, no, actually, that's a good question, because you do have to have access to see to-dos, and you can see other people's to-dos. So that's a good question. I'm going to go ahead and stop right here, Kathy, and show you in your admin manager. If you don't see this icon on your page somewhere and you've never seen it, and you probably want to do a call on to-dos, since this call isn't really for to-dos, it's a security setting to be able to access to-dos. And I think you just type in to do, pretty sure. So, oh, good. The counting people, look, they didn't have access. So you need to be able to view to-dos, maybe edit to-dos, maybe delete to-dos. Depending on who you are, you might need to view a to-do that's not assigned to you. So usually project managers like to give all these to-dos to their graphic designers and such, and then be able to look on a board and see how many open to-dos are there, where are people at with these, and then sometimes they need to actually edit ones. So if you just go to the back end, if you have access to it and type in the word to do, you do until you won't get this icon until you have this icon, view to-dos. Then you will get the icon, and then you guys can start working on to-dos. You can assign to-dos, have to be task level. Another question. Nope, that was it. Okay, let me type some dones. Just a moment. Oh, cancel. And all right. Going back to the spiel. Okay, so the to-do board, if you have it, is a good place. And actually, I want to not look at it from Safari. I'll just go over to my to-do board over here. Oops, project manager. No, I don't want to do that. So I'm on a to-do board, and I just, want to let you know, like if I take out, like you'll be able to see to-dos for all users. If I take out like the filters that I have on here for client or project, I can sort these in different ways to be able to see, let's see, I guess I can't do that. What I wanted to do is check on client purgatory. 1 second. I wanted to show you what you could do if you were all assigned users, active users, display by client. No, I don't want to display by client. Assigned. All right, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to show you that this is a good place for managers as you do utilize the to-do board, that I can come through and have each one of my people, and I can go through here and see how many to-dos each person has on their board, when were they due, what were they working on, and then if I wanted to add that other column, which was on this default layout one, that I could even make notes to them. So the communication lies here, or it lies in the to-do itself. But this is a good place where you can set up and see, here's all Audrey's and Bart's, and see what they're working on all at a glance if you're setting up to-dos at the project level. So let me go back to a question again. Can you add time from the, no, I answered that one. No. Yes, you can add from the to-do board. You have to open that up. I answered that one. Does everyone have access? No. Oh, I don't know why those are both questions that like came up as new. Sorry about that, guys. All right, back to the other people thing. All right, so we know how to do, a conversation. You just work back and forth. A to-do can be added at the project level, and you can converse on the to-do board. The deliverable. Oh, and then at the end, I wanted to also let you know, for either the to-dos or the conversations, you can schedule yourself reports to go to you if you need to see like the to-dos on a daily basis. So I put that in. Sorry, I forgot where I was just demoing this earlier, and I want to make sure I have the right thing. All right, so one of the things that we can do in the back end as a project manager is if you are utilizing the to-do board, and maybe you would like it more in a report going to you instead of going into Workamajig, we can schedule the reports to go to you based on what you need. So I made this report called Open To-Dos, and I made this yesterday. So I can search on here, and we can get fancy, and I can see these are all the to-dos for each one of my people and who has the most. And I can almost, say that Clint Eastwood might have too much stuff on his hands, or so to see. But the point is, I can schedule this report to go to me at any one time through this scheduled report. So I can see this without having to go into Workmajig. So if you aren't already familiar with the scheduling reports, this is another way that we can communicate and open this up and decide, yeah, these people need to, get selected to get an email on this. And you can even decide what type it is, how often you want it, but make this, either the conversations or the to-dos or any type of information that is a customizable report can be sent to you or your coworkers or whoever you want on a daily or weekly basis. And the information will be updated as you go through this. So if I scheduled this report and then this would be going out every, day to everyone to see who has the most or whatever, who's the winner of the most to-dos, right? So just note if you are making customized, or not even custom, but just any type of reporting that we can do, they can be sent out to you. I wasn't on the schedule to talk about that, but I just thought that was important for everyone to know. All right. Angela, that's a good question. What value do to-dos provide above and beyond the task of assignments? So we at Workamajig, and it wasn't that many years ago because I was here when they started this, added the ability to add a to-do. When people often ask, well, that's a lot of detail. Why do we need this? Right? That's a great question. So oftentimes, let me go back to the projects. A person is working on a task and they may be new, or maybe they don't know their job very well or whatever, and they need more detail. So when any one of these, footwork for layout, and I assigned it to a person, and they may just see footwork for layout, but they don't actually know the steps or what things that they need to do in order to get that done. So it's just providing more detail. Some of my clients have gone from a very detailed schedule where it's a lot of tasks into just a schedule that's just a couple of tasks. And they find that they will have one task or just a couple of tasks. It might even just say design, and they will have a bunch of to-dos on it instead of doing it task by task. So it's just the amount of detail that you want. So again, through any of these, if I need to add a to-do, the one thing to note on any line, actually I would be on a line with a person, at the kickoff meeting. At any point when we're seeing that, that's from this here, it opens up. If you have the to-dos to work on, you can create a to-do for somebody. You can create them as multiple items or one item where they would get 3. So I could actually go 1 thing, then 2 things, and then 3, right? And I can assign it to Foxy Lady, and I can give them their own due date. And I can even tie it to deliverable and make them notify, but I can send then that generates an email to my Foxy Lady when I set this up for her to be on this. And so it's really just detailing out some extra things that somebody needs to do on the project. So if I was to go over, hopefully, so these can be actually worked on right here from the project, and someone can come in and actually, you can mark it completed if you have the ability, or if I'm Foxy or I'm an admin, I could, make a comment and do it for somebody else if I wanted to. But scoping it out, what really happens is, why am I not getting that other project on here? I feel like that should have immediately shown up. Hold on 1 second. That was, did it not go? Sorry, I just want to say it's February 27th. That should have been for today, and I just added it. Is this project not active? Like, I immediately think that that's or something strange on here. She's on there. Maybe it just takes a couple of minutes till I'm able to see it on the other side. I have to refresh my page. 1 moment. Maybe I have a display option. I do not know why it's not showing. Well, in any case, most of the time it would be showing on the to-do list over here on the to-do list. Why it's not picking it up right now, I'm not positive. All right, so really the detail of the to-dos, this wasn't supposed to be part of my spiel, but it's really to just be able to give more involvement on the item of the task if you need to. And not, so like I said, some clients are moving towards a, let's do less of this, big schedule on smaller schedule, because it's easier for them to keep adding time to graphic design and then put more to-dos. And then they have this nice little board that they can look at and complete their items of the day. So it's just a different way to manage and you can make it more of a Kanban style. You can use statuses with to-dos if you want to, meaning I can move these to different categories, and I'm not going to set that up today, but it's just like more options for you guys to do. All right. Will you show how the to-do board? I verify that the user security rights are edit tools. Is there a place that turn on the to-do board? If this is your first time and you just did that while you're on the call, you do need to sign out and sign back in, and they should appear if you have verified. If you, for some reason, have, some of my clients have a board where you only have a few icons because it's been customized. If you hit the show all apps in the corner, that may bring up your to-do board. So again, you have to be under the project manager, and then it should be usually the last thing. And if you, again, if you don't see all icons like I have on here, hit show all apps, sign out. When I say sign out, I mean sign out from your name, click log out, log back in. Sometimes that helps to get it on there. And if it's still not on there, we'll help you after this call. Today is the 28th. That's correct. I remember I have to show it on the dashboard now. I can only access it from the search. I remember having to show it on the dashboard, but I can only access it from the search. I'm not quite sure what that meant. Okay, I have full access. You should be able to see them, Jill. And if you can't, I will help you after this call. All right, so I'm surprised. I almost feel like I always turn on to-dos for almost all my clients during our training. So I apologize if it wasn't already on. All right, so I did want to talk for a few minutes. We're you're getting down to the end here. Deliverables and how you can leave notes and create to-dos on the conversation. So a couple of things here. One, if you hadn't already noticed this, people have been asking two things. I haven't even got to the two to that. One, some of my clients find that they want an area, and we have it. Where is the area that I just wanted to talk about? It's on this one. A place for on your projects page. Sometimes people have been telling me, oh, well, we want somewhere to put some overall notes where I don't want to dig into the project, extra clicks, right? Click, click, find out some notes. But project related notes, you have both status notes and client notes. So you can make use of whatever you want on this main page of your projects by just initializing, adding these columns on. What does this do for you? If I needed to come in here and make a note on top of this site, it's whatever this most recent note that somebody writes is shown for everybody that has access to the project on there. So this is a place where somebody might be making notes that, you know, about the project or something about the client that you need to know for the project. Then internally, once you hit the project and go to the schedule of the project, people have been asking, oh, well, maybe I need more information. Now we have status and due comments. I can come in and say whatever I want on either of these areas so that everyone can see the status of this kickoff meeting or now, whatever you want to write in these areas. So these are just columns on both of those areas that you can initiate to give more of a communication for the project back and forth, or not even back and forth, just to like, you know, what's your current status of this? How did I add that on there? All I did is go to the more key and the system settings, and those are one of the columns that you can add in here and then change the display. So one's status and one's due. So if you're looking at task and you need to see the status of a task and you want to kind of make a little comment there, great. That's one place you can do this without actually generating an email to someone. So just note, and then if you go back, no, I don't want to save those changes to the overall projects area, same thing there. And then you can report out on these things. So later on, I can get a report every week that shows me all the status notes that I put on here or the client notes on the projects. So just note, this is just another way we can communicate. A lot of questions on this one. Thanks. Okay, hold on one moment and I'll get out of that. All right. Said I was going to also go over deliverables and how you can communicate on deliverables that's actually separate from the communication that you do on the regular project. So if I'm in a project and you have the conversations that you are working on here, if you create a deliverable, they have their own life of comments, and it may be overkill, but let's just take this really quick on a new deliverable, whatever you would call this. You can put it towards task if you want to. Do I have something that it would be internal create draft website? I'd probably be doing it on the internal part, like whatever task that you're putting that on. Great. And you can actually have types if you didn't know already. And then you can have both reviews, but I'm not going to go through that whole thing with everybody. That's hopefully you know how to do the point of this is actually to show you how the communication works. Let me add a file. Add a file. Add an approver. Wait for it. Sorry, guys. It's a little slow there. I'm going to make myself an approver because, again, this was that section I talked about earlier from the employee record. If you had chosen, if people had chosen to be automatically notified, their names would have shown up on here. I just don't need to do that. All right. Once I send this for review, there is a separate section, and sorry, I shouldn't have went so fast. Back in the main deliverable section, when you click on the deliverable itself, it will take you to an area where there are details on it and then conversations. So the conversations that are held inside of here are only held inside of here. You're not going to find them in the main area. So if I need to have a separate conversation, I don't find that this is typically useful for most clients. Why? Because the comments themselves on the deliverable are where you're writing that information. But if there needs to be a separate conversation, I can start it from here. I can attach a picture. I can send it out to people, to the client or whatever, and it lives right inside of here. Most people are making your comments inside of here, right? Most people love it, are going to make a comment and make their little things here and save. But if you didn't know this, hey, we were asking earlier, what other features the to-do would have benefit for? Let's fix this. So if you don't have this already, this little button here makes a to-do for the person. We'll make a to-do for Foxy Lady. I know Foxy Lady is Foxy Lady, same person, but typically it would be a different person, right? And I need to tell them, hey, I need you to fix whatever I just wrote on here. If I need that to say fix this, I can click on that. I can assign it to the person. If I need to, I can add a new task or use this different task. And when I save this, why is it saying spicy? I don't want it to be spicy. Sorry, I want it to be Toxy. All right. I'm not sure why it defaulted to the other person. Anyways, I can give them additional hours and I can let them know I need this done, right? So this becomes a to-do for that person. So again, you might not need to like email them because they're already going to get the information, and I can just tell them resubmit, and they're going to get a to-do on their to-do board telling them that they need to fix this, right? And the fix this is the to-do. Basically, one becomes the other. So on the deliverable itself, what was I going to do? Review rounds. I have a resubmit, but the person would come back in and they would view the comments, right? The person that's the graphic designer can see that the comment is that the changes are needed on here, and they can have different statuses, and they can actually come in here depending on how you guys have it set up. It can just be a check mark box to say they did it, mark the to-do completed. I'm not going to mark it here because I also want to show you how that looks on the to-do board itself. So since I'm Foxy Lady, she might not be Foxy Lady, and it might not be, in this, area of the project, but she might want to maybe work from the to-do board instead. So again, the to-do board is now, now I forgot which one it was, but I should be able to see the to-do for that. Why am I not seeing that one for that project? Okay, but I might have a filter. Do I have a filter? I don't know. Well, that's not good. Typically, I should be able to see these are those ones I added earlier, but I'm not seeing the one for the project that I was just on. Hold on 1 second. It's in production. Why is this person not getting this? Resubmit. Just checking why that did not go right to them as a to-do, which it's supposed to do. Maybe I didn't assign it to the right person. Hold on. Oh, this is why. I missed it. I missed a step. It needs to actually be assigned to Foxy Lady before they can actually see it on their to-do board. Bad Jen. Now, the to-do board should actually have that on it, which was what my point of showing you guys this. Close your eyes for a second. All right, to-do board project. There it is. Okay, so again, if you are using the fix this, which was just a to-do to let your graphic designer needs to know what they need to fix, it will show on here with the due dates that you give it, what the description was, and they will click on it, which again will take them back to the board for the communication of, hey, they might need to add a comment, maybe they need to mark it completed. And if you use statuses with to-dos, you could move it through a series of statuses if you need to. So if I just mark this completed, depending on if you were the email update to on this part, then you would get an email saying that the to-do was completed. So there's your communication going back and forth on that. All right. So where are we at? You can create a to-do. We know that there's conversations inside there. We just want to also let you know on your client invoices and vendor invoices that you also have ability to do communications on either of those areas. So just let me see if I can find a client invoice. I have a lot of old invoices. All right, so if you hadn't already noted, both on invoices and vendor invoices, that there's a place for conversations inside of here, and you can make posts back and forth. Not that you need to, but it's going to open up a conversation that's connected to the invoice itself. So you can store that information either as a note to yourself, or you can actually be emailing it, but then it's actually stored on the invoice. So it's one little area that people maybe never notice that it's way down there that you can add a conversation. Some people do that and they actually want, you know why they do that? Actually, I can tell you right now, because a lot of times people add attachments to the invoice that they need to collect, like, well, especially on the vendor, they might add a copy of the vendor invoice that they actually got way before they pay it. So that's usually an attachment that I see, and then they want to store it on the vendor invoice. Not so much I don't see someone added to the client, but usually it's for the vendor side, which is the exact same thing. And there's a little space for conversations there. I think there's a new question. The fix it and deliverables. Hey, Stacy, my good friend. It's a back end. So the fix it and the deliverable is if you have it turned on, and if you want to use the fix it, it's admin manager, system setup. Let me think if I can remember where this is at. Is it in here? I may have to get back to you. I can't remember. It's one of these. It might be under the projects. I haven't to-dos, statuses. It's something I already have turned on. Use to-dos. All right. Okay, maybe it was on the deliverable. Use to-do items with deliverable. Sorry, it's right here. Make sure this is on use to-do items with the deliverables, and that creates a to-do. If you don't have that on, that's not going to work. All right, good question. All right, and a couple more things. We're almost done. Notifications and scheduled reports. Oh, I talked about the scheduled reports that can be delivered either into your bell. So that report can go into your bell, or it can be delivered to your email, either way. And our final thing here is Slack integration. So this is new. I didn't set it up because we don't have Slack. We actually use Skype. But if you are interested in using, or if you're like Slack and you want to put it inside of Workamajig, does it do a whole lot? It's just kind of enabling you to see your Slack comments and what you're doing inside of Workamajig. So there is a new help guide on that. And I think it's in, did I do that already? Sorry, I think I need to I think you just type in Slack. So if you guys are interested, it is new, and there is a webinar on it and project conversations to Slack. So if you just type in Slack, it'll give you the information you need to set up Slack. It does take a while. Like went through the webinar. It's not like 2 clicks and you're there. There's a lot of click here, click here, click here. But a lot of our clients do use Slack and they want to integrate that. So that's one of our newest features. It's still in the, my brain just went blank. It's still in the phase for it's a lab, I think. Slack integration. So if you do want it, you're going to need to go to your system setup, Workamajig lab, and then enable the Slack integration. And if you, for some reason, don't see that there, let us know, but you should have it if you have access to the back end. Another one that has caused a couple of problems is for some of my clients, but most of them it's okay, is that we have that real-time notifications. That's another way we can communicate with each other, is real-time notifications. Just allows that little pop out to come when things are being changed, or it's, say if I'm on a project, so this is important because this is for communication. If I'm on a project and somebody else is on the same project to me and I'm making changes to the project schedule, this, if you have this turned on, I wish I could demo this for you guys and I can't. If someone's on this schedule and they are like, okay, I need to make a change to this and they called it something else, right? It immediately highlights yellow for the other people to see on their page that something's been changed on the project. So it's real time letting you know somebody else is working on the same thing as you. So it's kind of a little feature. But again, it's still a lab, so we're still working out some kinks, but if you'd like to try it, it's something you can enable. And it will also, it's going to come through in different places for any changes you make in staff schedule, stuff like that, changes you make. It's just to let other people know, and I wish I could show it to you, but it would show up yellow for everybody else to see on their page. All right, so let me make sure I've covered, hold on one moment before you guys get all ready to leave. I want to make sure that I've covered everything. Okay, one more thing, and this is the last thing, and then I know it's 11:30. Some people had asked about approval processes for the deliverables and how they could set it up based on the deliverable type. I do want to let you know it does take quite a bit of setup, but you can do a deliverable setup customized for the deliverable type. What I mean is sometimes you have a certain group of people that every time you do a collateral piece, it always goes and needs to be approved by a certain person. And then you might have a print ad that goes to a different person, or, you know, different types of banners. They all have different approval processes. And instead of having your graphic designer do that, deciding, you know, like, who should this go to when I set this up, and maybe they don't know, you can actually have that done in the back end so that every time you open a deliverable, the appropriate people are already set up. So it's more customized even than the transaction preference. So I will tell you, it's all based on if you use deliverable types. So last thing of the day, in your admin manager, in your system setup, you need to have deliverable types set up. And then when you do have these deliverable types, you may have a whole bunch. I mean, I just only have 2. You can have its own approval process. So this is what I think is also important communication to make it easier for people, where I can actually come in here and set up my own approval process of who are the approvers and who to notify based on the type of deliverable that it is. So if somebody comes in and says, so note here, Drew Barrymore, Spicy Ginger, right? Approvers for an email. That means if I'm on the project and somebody says, okay, I need an email, and they said type email name X, save, oops, I guess I'm making myself have to actually do work here. Oh, look, Drew Barrymore and Spicy Ginger. They're already pre-filled in, so nobody has to use their brain if you do deliverable types. So that's my last thing I was going to say for the day. Not everybody uses it, not everybody cares, but I have found a lot of clients think if they're going through that process, that they only want their graphic designer or whoever's uploading the file not to have to think about who should it go to and what order should it go to. That whole process can be set up And it's different for different types. So if you have a larger agency and different types of things go to different types of people, it's something to think about. And if you need help setting that up, again, go to support@workamajig.com and they will get you a call to help you set those up individualized. Thank you guys very much for coming today. I hope you gained some knowledge out of what I went over today. And if you have further questions, please write in and I'll stick around for the next 2 to 3 minutes just to see if anybody else has any questions. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Somebody asked, since this was all recorded, are we able to get a copy of this presentation? Yes, it takes 2 to 3 days, and then it will be found on our help guide, support.workamajig.com, and you will just type in, well, it's from our main page. It has webinars on it, actually. It'll end in this area of webinars, and it will be under, oh, they've redid our help guide, so I think you can type in past webinars. Oh, 2012. Be nice if it had 2023 webinars on here. Interesting. Well, you'll be able to find it in a few days, actually. Either way, they do post it and it will be on YouTube also. So good question.